Hello everyone, good morning. Today is 1st of August and welcome to the Hindu newspaper analysis. So guys, in the video we are going to discuss the entire analysis of the Hindu newspaper with the background as well as with the suggestions and the way forward in the relevant issues. Now guys, before starting I would like to remind you that if you want you can download the explainer PDF from the Telegram channel. Okay, and the link for the Telegram channel has been given in the description box. So please download this particular explainer. Moreover, you can also join our Telegram channel. Now guys, starting up. So first of all, let's take the overview of the entire newspaper in order to understand that which articles are going to be important for our examination. Now first, we can see here that the Raut in ED custody in money laundering case. Fine. So guys, basically the money laundering and arrest of many of the political personalities and even others, it is continuing even in the money laundering and the role of the enforcement directorate. Recently the Supreme Court has given one judgment also. So that Supreme Court judgment article has come in the editorial. We are going to see that one. Okay. However, individual arrest, who is being arrested under what charge, these political things are not important for you. Fine. After that, moving on, Bengal police arrest 3 Jharkhand MLAs. Fine. Then guys, basically the Partha Chatterjee case on again the case under the PMLA, it is all being discussed. Fine. You don't need to go and see these independent individual articles. Then guys, moving on. Fine. Mr. Sanjay Arora is New Delhi Police Commissioner. Nothing is important with respect to our examination. Then moving on in the city section, the regional issues. Fine. All these kind of things have been discussed. Okay, then moving on in this particular direction guys, the advertisements etc are there, so directly we'll reach to the editorial page, and on the editorial page there are some articles that are there. Now guys, you might be having some different edition of the Hindu newspaper, so these regional sections majorly they contain the local issues, okay, and all these things, so much important things are usually not there. So coming to the editorial page, PMLA verdict and erosion of constitutional buffers. We'll see this particular article with respect to GS paper number 2. Then India's wheat waivers WTO demands. We'll see this particular article also at what it is providing. An alarming fall. Now guys, this particular article talks about that how the constructive debates in the parliament, they are falling down. We'll see this particular article. Then core constraints. Now guys, this particular article provides this particular thing that basically we find that the core sectors find their progress fine, it is not very much promising that it should have been the case. So basically the trends with respect to the core sector growth, the trends with respect to the different sectors in the Indian economy, it is being discussed. Now guys, see the numbers and the datas with respect to the core sector and all these things that have been given here. You don't need to go too much into the detail into this particular thing, because most of these datas will going to change fine very soon. So guys, we need to know this particular thing, that when we talk about the Indian economy, there are many challenges on Indian economy. For example, we have the challenge of inflation. After that, the FPIs are pulling. All these particular challenges are there, but exactly numbers are not that much important. Then moving on, representation all the way up. So this article provides that how the constitutional reforms which we have taken over the years had actually helped that the President Miss Murmu had make to the office. So we'll see this particular article. Bringing Eurasia closer, a good article talks about the INSTC. We'll see this particular article also. Then here representation among the lower judiciary, so good article with respect to the judiciary related issues. We'll see this article also. Then a Pop's apology for the mass Canada graves. Okay, so basically guys, how the Catholic Church was involved into these kind of instances in the earlier times and all these things are there. Fine. However guys, if you want enough leisure, you can read this particular article, but with respect to the UPSC academic substance, fine, that could directly be used in our examination, that's not there. Then moving on, the need for distinction between blasphemy and hate speech. We'll see this particular article with respect to the GS paper number 2. Then guys, the technology powering the hybrid electric vehicles. Now see, this is a cachet article. Now what are these cachet articles in the text and the context? These articles talk about the technical nitty-gritties behind these particular kind of things. So basically here the comparison between a hybrid electric vehicle and an internal combustion engine, fine, the technical aspects are being discussed. Okay, then guys, moving on, so therefore basically with respect to the UPSC, now in UPSC we find that the broad theme based questions are coming. This particular article is more talking about that, okay, what is the technology being adopted into the Grand Vitara, into the Toyota's urban cruiser, what they are doing, all these things have been provided. Then moving on, build India of freedom fighters dream, Modi. So basically the Prime Minister has given a message on Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav and had said this particular thing, that the people need to follow their duties, people need to show their devotion, and whatever the dreams were seen by the freedom fighters, they are needed to be fulfilled. Okay, Assam UP police sees a demographic shift. Fine, we'll see that what is provided here. Then guys, the Rahul Gandhi to meet Lingya seers. Fine, all these particular things are not important. Hindustan Aeronautical Limited to supply 12 light utility helicopters to the armed forces. Then again the political articles etc have been given. Nothing is important in this direction. Fine, here we can see that again the PMLA has been discussed, so we will integrate this particular article in the editorial page and then we'll move on. Okay, then the COVID-2 guild in universal immunization. So guys, we are taking the universal immunization for that particular thing. Even that mission Indradhanush is being taken up, so COVID will be used in this particular respect. After that guys, India's aviation sector absolutely safe, all rules are being followed. So we have seen recently that there are multiple technical snags, there were multiple incidents, mid-air incidents had happened into the airways involving the SpiceJet, Indigo, fine, etc. So now a clarification has been given by the DGCA that there is no big trouble, though there were some kind of minor issues were there, but big problems are not there. Then moving on, after that onto the world page. So guys, into the world page, the issues etc are being going on. Fine, so basically here we have seen that the basically US House of Representatives Speaker, fine, a tour on Taiwan was basically it was provided into the newspaper few days back that she wanted to visit the Taiwan. On that particular thing, China was very much angry because the China doesn't believe that the Taiwan is an independent country. China always say that the Taiwan is a part of China only, but if any country representative says that they are going to visit Taiwan, it indirectly gives an incidence that they consider Taiwan as separate, which actually negates the China's viewpoint. Fine, so basically here we have seen that basically US House of Representative Speaker had said that okay, Asia tour will be there, but whether the visit to Taiwan will be there or not, on that the clarity has not been given. Then guys, moving on, debris from China's rocket falls on Earth. So we can see this particular thing that the basically outer space have become populated with the satellites, with the many such kind of objects that are there. Okay, in this particular direction, this particular issue is problematic, but now this is something that what had happened, China had recently released a booster rocket. Okay, China has released a booster rocket, but that particular rocket's part has fallen on the Earth. Okay, so this particular thing is being called as irresponsible by NASA. Okay, so basically as we will explore the outer space, okay, these particular accidents will increases. Fine, for example, in this particular case, the rocket has fallen down somewhere down in the future, some other parts from the space objects etc might fall down. So this is something which we need to work upon in the longer term. Now today on Monday we don't have business page, we have this money wise page, and this money wise page contains the advices related to the insurance, investing etc, not much important for our exam. And then we have the sports page. Okay, so guys, in this particular direction, this is the overview of the entire newspaper, and now let's discuss the relevant articles one by one in the detail. Now in every class I start with the GS quotation that could be used in one of your GS papers. So guys, today we are going to take the quotation from George Orwell. Okay, a notable author who is very much important for writing one of a iconic novel 1984. Now he says that if liberty is to mean anything at all, it means the right to tell people what they do not want to hear. So if liberty is anything, then you should be given, or a person should be given a power that they can tell to people what they don't want to hear. That is the true liberty. That is the true freedom of speech and expression. Fine. So this is something that has been provided. Now guys, obviously this particular understanding has some negative sides also, because though the freedom of speech and expression has been given to us, but we need to be sensible about the other people's sentiments also. But sometimes this sentimental value is given so much importance that altogether the freedom of speech and expression, it is violated. So a kind of a balance at the end of the day is needed to be achieved. Now this particular quotation can be used in GS paper number 2. GS paper number 2 with respect to the freedom of speech, expression and liberties. Now taking up the first article, the need for a distinction between blasphemy and the hate speech. Now this article we have taken from the text and the context article, text and the context page, and this particular article we are going to read with respect to the GS paper number 2, limits to freedom of speech and expression. Limits to freedom of speech and expression, article number 19, issues related to the fundamental right. Fine, we are going to see this article. Now, basically guys, when we talk about the blasphemy, what do we mean by, first of all, this word blasphemy? So basically, blasphemy, it is an act where a person has criticized or has spoken something against a sacred. Now, for example, something has been spoken against a sacred text, something wrong has been spoken against the god or some religion. Fine, so that is the blasphemy. Now, the blasphemy has been an offense in many of the countries. Blasphemy is a crime. Okay, so if you are speaking something against the sacred, if you are speaking something against a sacred religious text, it is a crime, it is an offense, and that offense is called as a blasphemy. Now, when we talk about the blasphemy in India, it is not formally mentioned anywhere, but in order to deal with the blasphemy, we have one particular section of IPC, that is the section number 295A. Now, this section 295A is being discussed in this particular article. Sometimes this section 295A will contradict the article number 19 of the fundamental right. Now guys, under article number 19, freedom of speech and expression has been given. So where the freedom of speech and expression will end and where it will turn into the blasphemy, this particular thing is always not very much clear. So these are the things we are going to discuss in this particular article. So guys, when we talk about blasphemy, I told you that there is no formal legislation against the blasphemy, but section 295A of Indian Penal Code, it punishes any speech, any writing or any sign where there was the premeditated intention to insult some citizen's religion or some of a religious belief, and this particular thing can be punished for with a fine as well as with a jail up to 3 years. Now this section 295, which actually is trying to implement the blasphemy law in India, this particular law has been challenged in the past. Where it has been challenged? It has been challenged into the Ramji Lal Modi case of 1957 in the Supreme Court. It was said that this particular law will come in violation with the article number 19, freedom of speech and expression. But at that point of a time, Supreme Court has provided that no, because under article number 19 subclause 2, reasonable limits, reasonable restrictions have already been provided. So if we want, then on to the ground of reasonable restrictions, fundamental right article number 19 could be curbed, and in that particular capacity, if the section 295A is restricting the freedom of speech and expression, then it is not a problem, it can continue. Is it clear or not? So this has been provided. So section 295A deals with aggravated form of blasphemy. Now guys, the article provides this particular thing that actually this section 295A, it is too wide. It is too much wide. It is too much ambiguous. Why? Because see, this particular thing, that first of all, I'll tell you little bit background behind the section 295A. Now see, suppose there is a person, he had spoken something against a particular religion, he had spoken something against the sacred text, okay, and because of this particular person's statement, there are some another group of people who got incited, who got incited, their religious feelings got hurt, and now let's say these people basically want to seek a revenge from this particular person, and this particular thing can even turn against a community. So basically what has happened in the start, when this particular person made a statement, his statement led to some incitement, its statement led to inducing of some violence between the groups. So in order to reduce these kind of things, section 295A was brought in order to reduce the incitement, okay, and all these particular kind of things. But what has happened over the years, we have found this particular thing that the section 295A is being used in every case wherever a person has made a religious reference. Now the article says this particular thing that actually all the cases where some religious statement or a religious comment is being made, it might not always lead to incitement, it might not always induce the violence between the two groups, but even in those cases the person are being arrested under the violation of section 295A. So basically it has been provided that there is a disparity between actual interpretation and between the expectation from this particular law and the actual working of this particular law. it has been provided that basically that sometimes people are making some religious comments. These particular things could be condemned, these particular things could be criticized. Let's say Mr. X had made some religious comment against some another community. Mr. X could be condemned, could be criticized, but outlawing that person, putting that particular person in the jail, it might not be the right kind of a thing, because freedom of speech and expression, it is a very important ideal enshrined in the Constitution of India. Moreover guys, see, there has been a selective application even of the section 295A. We have find that there are some people who outrightly make some religious comments, but they are not arrested, they are not in the jail. But there are some other people who had just shared some kind of an idea which might not even be that offensive, but those people are put in the jail. So there is a selective application also in these particular respects. The people who have political connections, they are fleeing free even after making religious comments, but other people are getting arrested. So this is something which have been provided in this article. Now that is all, and now we'll move to the next article. Okay, so this article we have taken from the editorial section, an alarming fall. Now guys, this particular article provides this particular thing, that now the opposition's role in the parliament, even the ruling party's role in the parliament, it has not been up to the mark. It has not been as per what was expected out of them. So basically, first of all, this article we are going to use with respect to the GS paper number 2. GS paper number 2, working of parliament. GS paper number 2, working of parliament. Okay. Now, so basically guys, if I give you the real-time data, okay, before going in this particular article, if I gave you the real-time data with respect to the working of the parliament in the present monsoon session of 2022, what is the productivity right now? Productivity in the Lok Sabha, it is just 26%. Productivity in the Lok Sabha is just 26%, and the productivity in the Rajya Sabha, it is just 19%. It means that guys, basically the houses, they are not constructively using the time and the resource that has been allocated to them. Now guys, according to certain of the researches and data, it has been said that every 1 minute when the parliament functions, 2.5 lakh rupees are spent on that. 1 minute of parliament functioning basically has an expenditure of 2.5 lakh rupees. And in this particular capacity, the productivity of the parliament, it is very much poor. Just 26% in Lok Sabha and 19% into the Rajya Sabha. What is the problem? The time is being wasted into the unconstructive debates. The time is being wasted into the political showcasing. So it has been provided that the political parties are using the parliament as a house to showcase their political spectacle. They are just creating the ruckus. They are not using the time in a constructive manner. Now this particular thing earlier was done by the BJP as provided by article, not my views. Article says that earlier the BJP was doing that particular thing, and now the UPA has copied the same kind of a thing, and therefore all the political parties are actually not performing as per the parliamentary ethos, as per the parliamentary customs, parliamentary traditions. This is a wrong thing. So the productivity of the parliament is on a decline. Now guys, there have been many issues in this particular direction. Even guys, sometimes the opposition's credible demands are being sidelined. For example, the demands have been made on discussing some of the important issues. For example, the issue of inflation, the issue of surveillance that was carried, which was alleged by the alleged that the Pegasus has been used. On these particular things, the discussions have not been there. It has been said that right now we see that a high number of MPs have been suspended from the Rajya Sabha. 27 MPs have been suspended for the entire monsoon session just for displaying the placards. Now, for displaying the placards, suspending these many MPs, it has never happened in the past, but now such kind of things are being done. So basically, the ruling party as well as opposition party both have a responsibility, and they are not adhering to their responsibility, and this responsibility has led to the fall in the parliamentary productivity of both Lok Sabha as well as Rajya Sabha. So this is something which needs now what we need. We obviously the laws are there, rules are there, but we need the parliamentary ethics. We need the political ethics in this particular light. Fine. Now moving on to the next article. Beyond that, substance is not there in this particular article. Okay, guys, the data that I had provided you here, this data has been taken from the PRS. The data has been taken from the PRS. You can use it in your answers. Now moving on. Okay, so guys, here we have clubbed the two articles. PMLA verdict, an erosion of constitutional buffers. Now this particular article is taken from the editorial section. And again, the PMLA verdict, this particular article is also there from the Hindu newspaper. So we will club both these articles and we'll see that what's the entire issue all about. Now, this particular issue, guys, we are going to discuss with respect to the GS paper number 2. GS paper number 2. Okay. GS paper number 2. Fine. The working of the legislations, enforcement agencies. Okay, as well as we can see this particular article with respect to the GS paper number 3 also, because in GS paper number 3 internal security section money laundering has been mentioned. Fine, so there also we can see this thing. Okay, now guys, let's see this particular article. First of all, we have earlier also discussed this particular article in the previous week. There are the two separate instances where I had discussed this particular thing. So guys, again we are going to discuss the issue more comprehensively. So if you have seen it, please pay attention here. If you have not seen it, you also please pay attention here. Now guys, recently what has happened, the Supreme Court has delivered its judgment, that is the Vijay Madan Lal Chaudhary versus Union of India judgment. Now this judgment was about the Prevention of Money Laundering Act. Now guys, when we talk about the Prevention of Money Laundering Act, it aims to reduce the incidences of the money laundering. What is money laundering? Money laundering is an act where the dirty money is being cleaned. Now basically, Prevention of Money Laundering Act provides that Enforcement Directorate. Now Enforcement Directorate is an agency which investigates under the Prevention of Money Laundering Act. It also arrests the people who are being charged of the money laundering. So under the Prevention of Money Laundering Act, ED plays an important role. So the powers with respect to the ED, the power that are there with the ED, these powers were challenged in the Supreme Court. It was said that the ED, Enforcement Directorate, is being just used as a political weapon. By using the Enforcement Directorate, the political people are just being arrested onto the flimsy grounds. So you need to see that the Supreme Court was asked that Supreme Court should see whether the PMLA is a draconian law or not, whether some of the provisions of the PMLA could be struck, or whether the powers of the ED could be struck or not. Now the Supreme Court has delivered the judgment. Now first of all, let's see that what the Supreme Court has provided. Supreme Court has provided that first of all, the offense of money laundering, it is a heinous crime, and the money laundering has been compared with the terrorism. Fine. It has provided that when we talk about the money laundering, okay, so it has upheld the section number 3, which talks about the definition of money laundering. It has also upheld the section 24, reverse burden of proof. Now what is the reverse burden of proof? It means that the person on whom the charge has been made, that person has to prove that he is innocent. Okay, so the person, the burden of proof is on the person who has been arrested. This particular provision is also correct. Supreme Court had said this thing. Section 5 is also constitutionally valid. It means that the attachment of property of a person could be there. Let's say a person had earned some money from the dirty, had actually said bought some property by using the dirty money, then that particular property could be attached, could be taken over by the government. All these provisions have been upheld by the Supreme Court. Okay, so this is one thing. Second thing, basically under the Prevention of Money Laundering Act, the bail, the act of getting a bail was very difficult kind of a thing. So the bail condition were very much stringent, and when we talk about the bail condition, there was a twin test for the bail condition. It has also been upheld by the Supreme Court. We'll understand this particular thing in little bit detail. Then secondly guys, there was the matter of ECIR. Now what is the ECIR? ECIR stands for the Enforcement Case Information Report. So when a person is being arrested, or when a person is arrested, okay, so for that particular thing, that ECIR report is filed. Now the copy of the ECIR is not actually given to the person who has been arrested. Supreme Court had said that this is fine. It is not a legal responsibility that they has to give an ECIR copy. It is not mandatory. If they don't want, they might not give it. Okay, and then basically one more issue was there. One issue was there that actually over the past few years, the PMLA has been expanded by many number of amendments, and these amendments have been carried through the Finance Act that is passed after a budget. So guys, you might be knowing all this particular thing already also, that when the budget is brought in the parliament, after that budget session, to implement all the budget related provisions, a Finance Act is passed in the Parliament. Now, in this Finance Act, many times the government has put some amendments for the PMLA also, and through the Finance Act, this particular thing has been passed. So the question was raised to the Supreme Court that whether using the money bill route to amend the PMLA, is it correct or not? So Supreme Court had said that on this matter we will notify after few days. So all these particular developments had happened. Now guys, the article, it's providing the basic things, that first of all, the PMLA came in 2002, got implemented in 2005. It aims to curb the money laundering as well as many international commitments that India had taken. The ED has power under the PMLA, already we have seen. Now guys, over the years, as the ED enforcement director is arresting the people, many petitioners have said that their fundamental right, article number 20 and article number 21, are getting violated. Okay, article number 20, right against self-incrimination. Okay, you cannot be witness against you cannot be compelled to be witness. Okay, so article 20 of fundamental right, article 21, right to life and property, life and liberty, sorry, they are getting violated. Now guys, what are the issues in this particular judgment that had come? So basically, now, when we talk about the act, there are guys two type of offenses. There are the predicate offenses and then there are the scheduled offenses. Now, what is the predicate offenses? Predicate offenses are those offenses which have been directly mentioned into the act. For example, the terrorism, drug trafficking, okay, cheating, fine, which give rise to the tainted money, corruption. These are some of the predicated offenses that are written in this particular law. Okay, that has been written into the Prevention of Money Laundering Act. Now these are some very serious kind of crimes, and for these particular things the arrest should be made and ED should be given the power. This is correct thing. Okay, good. But guys, over the years there have been many of the scheduled offenses, many of the acts that have been added just into the schedule, and these particular offenses are such offenses which are not very much serious. For example, in the schedule of the PMLA, some acts have been added over the years. For example, the act related to the copyright infringement, trademark infringement, fraud, forgery. Okay, now guys, these kind of crimes, they are not on par with the crime related to the drug trafficking. They are not on par with the crime related to the terrorism, etc. So basically what has been happened, let's say a person is being charged for some minor fraud that he has been done, but for that fraud he is actually been implicated into the Prevention of Money Laundering Act, where the bail is very difficult. Okay, so it has been said that actually into the PMLA over the years many of the acts have been added, so therefore sometimes PMLA could be misused for the political reasons, and the court has not clarified on this particular thing. Now guys, further it has been provided that the court has clarified that the offense of money laundering is dependent on illegal gain. Yes, it is correct. Fine. Now what is there? Number one, there will be the illegal gain, illegal money that you will make. For example, a person had made money from extortion. This is the illegal gain. Then second, what will a person do? Person will launder this particular money. The person will clean this particular money, will show that this money will had come from legitimate gains. So therefore, first of all, illegal gain. Fine. The money will be generated from here. This is particular correct thing. Now it has been provided that if actually a person is able to quash this first thing, that he has done some illegal activity, even the case against that particular person that was pending under the PMLA, it can also be quashed. So this is something that has happened. This is good thing. Then the twin condition for bail. What is this? Twin condition for bail. What is this? Now guys, see, this particular judgment, this particular Supreme Court petition that was made, it was made with respect to the section 45 of the PMLA. Now what is section 45? Section 45 of the Prevention of Money Laundering Act, it provides that the court has to give bail only if these one of the condition is fulfilled. What are the conditions? Condition number one, there should be a reasonable ground for believing that the accused is not guilty for an offense. If the court feels that the person who has been arrested, he is not guilty, only if this particular thing is satisfied, then the court can give the bail. And the second is that the person is not like to commit any offense while he will be on the bail. So only if these two conditions will be fulfilled, then if one of the condition will be fulfilled out of this, then only the person will be given the bail. This is the twin condition test for the bail. Now guys, earlier in 2018 in Nikesh Tarachand Shah versus Union of India case, the Supreme Court has struck down this twin condition for bail test. Supreme Court had said that no, this is not something which is to be taken up. Is it clear or not? Now Basically, it was provided. But now the Supreme Court into this Vijay Madanlal Chaudhary case had again revived this twin condition test. It has again revived this twin condition test. Now guys, the assessment of this particular article says that, see, actually over the years we have expanded the domain of the fundamental rights. We have recognized many of the fundamental rights. For example, now this year we are celebrating the 5-year anniversary of the Puttaswamy judgment. Now what was the Puttaswamy judgment? In Puttaswamy judgment, the right to privacy was given. Now guys, even the right to be forgotten has been given. So we are expanding the scope of fundamental rights, okay, and many more such kind of things are being recognized. But in this capacity, the PMLA, it is sometimes which have been used for political purposes. Sometimes the people have been just implicated for the political gains, and the fundamental rights of the citizens get restricted in such kind of a things. So the Supreme Court should have taken more balanced kind of viewpoint in this particular direction. Now guys, there are some other issues also that is coming in this particular direction. See guys, basically there are large number of under trials also in the Indian jails. Now who are the under trials? Under trials are the people who are there in the jail whose crime has not been proved, but still they are languishing in the jail. They are the under trials. Now over the years, first of all, when we talk about the Enforcement Directorate, the number of cases that are being investigated by Enforcement Directorate, it has increased. Right now more than 4700 cases are being investigated by the Enforcement Directorate for the money laundering, and many of the people are there in the jail. They are the under trials. Now guys, the question comes here is that, see, when a person is under trial, when a person is in jail, he can ask for the bail. But when he is going to ask for the bail, he had to convince the judiciary that he is not going to again commit a crime. He will not be basically misusing his freedom when he will be on the bail. But this particular thing cannot be done. Why? Because ECIR is not being shared. Now I have told you this particular thing, that the ECIR is not being shared. What was this ECIR? ECIR, it is a report which provides that why a person is being arrested. So when the ED under the PMLA is charging a person, they are not sharing the ECIR. So how a person can defend himself? How a person can convince the judiciary that he is not going to use his freedom? Okay, this particular, we have seen this particular thing, that the court has also provided in this particular judgment, that actually basically guys, I will just tell you, there is some kind of a background. In the past, the Supreme Court has given certain rulings with respect to the right of the under trial people. Supreme Court had said that there are under trial people who are sometimes in the jail, okay, and if in case the under trial person had served the half of a jail time which could have been imposed on that person if he would have been convicted, if a person had spent that particular time, he can ask for the bail as a right. But the Supreme Court into the present case had said that if a person is charged under the Prevention of Money Laundering Act, even if he had spent half time in the prison, he doesn't has an absolute right to seek as a bail. So bail, it has become more and more stringent under the Prevention of Money Laundering Act with the coming of the Supreme Court judgment. So therefore many of the authors, they are saying that this is not something which is very good. Fine. So that is all about this article, and now we'll move to the next article. India's wheat waiver WTO demand is risk fraud. Now this particular article we are going to see with respect to the GS paper number 2, issues in international bodies, international organization, multilateral organization. So in multilateral organization, WTO, and in GS paper number 3, India's food security, okay, and the food and related issues, we are going to see this thing now. So guys, this article, it is talking about India's wheat waiver at WTO. Now guys, basically when we talk about the India, there is India's public stock holding program. It has been challenged under the WTO many number of times. So first of all, before going in this particular thing, I will give you some of a background. So guys, understand this particular thing, that today India is going for with the public stock holding program. Now what is the public stock holding program of India? See this thing. The government procures the food grain from the farmer at the MSP, minimum support price. So at the minimum support price, the food grain are being procured at the farmer. Then these particular food grains are being provided to the poor people through the PDS. through the PDS, public distribution system. So guys, you might be already, I have told you many number of times that there is National Food Security Act of 2013. So National Food Security Act provides that the subsidized food grains are to be provided to the people: 3 rupees kg rice, 2 rupees kg wheat and 1 rupee kg coarse grains. So subsidized food grains are to be provided as per NFSA through the public distribution system. So which food grains government is providing? The ones which it has procured earlier from the farmer at the minimum support price. So there is the public stock holding program that we are doing, where we procure the food grains and then we offer at remunerative price to the underprivileged. Now guys, under the WTO, it has been said that if you are giving any price support to the farmer, it is a trade distorting subsidy. Suppose you give any subsidy, price support subsidy to your farmer, obviously then that particular farmer will have an advantage compared to the other farmers of the other countries where no such kind of a price support subsidy is being given. So this particular thing has been called as a trade distortionary. The government of India, in fact India has often been challenged that they are procuring these food grains. Okay, is it legal under WTO or not? Earlier India was challenged that no, it is not legal, but guys, India has been given a temporary relief in the peace clause that was given few years back. So as per the peace clause, government can procure the food grains from the farmer, they can give them a price support, can keep that particular food grains in a kind of a storage. Fine. Now recently the WTO ministerial, it is the highest decision making body of the WTO. It meets every 2 years. So WTO ministerial was held recently into the Geneva, and in this public stock holding issue of India was not actually properly discussed. Now guys, I told you that India has been given a peace clause that for temporary period India can procure the food, it can store the food. So this was a peace clause, it was a temporary arrangement that was given, but India wanted some permanent solution. Now this permanent solution has not been discussed into the Geneva, so the Geneva was not a success for India. Moreover guys, India's concern is that now India's concern that the food stock holding, it is an important part of their food security. It doesn't find any mention. Now guys, understand this particular thing, that see, India's demand for permanent solution, it has gained a new dimension also. Basically what now India is doing, so first what happened, India procured the food grains at a subsidized price. India has now a lot of buffer stock. Now India is saying this particular thing that we want to export these food grains because right now the food inflation is going in the world. There are many of the needy countries who need the food but they don't have the food. So we have excess food, let us export this particular food grains. Now on it, first of all, it looks a very kind of a moral suggestion that has been given by India to feed the poor people, to feed the hungry people. But guys, the WTO will not allow this particular thing. Why? Because guys, the food grains that have been procured at a subsidized price, they cannot be exported because in that particular capacity, it will provide an unfair advantage to the country or to the farmer of other country who has been supported vis-a-vis the farmer who was not given any particular subsidy. Is it clear or not? What can happen? See guys, this particular thing that India has procured a lot of food grain at a subsidized price. India has the cheap food grains that are there. Now we can sell these food grains in international market at a very low price. Okay. So therefore, such kind of things is actually not allowed by the WTO. It might depress the global prices. India, now the countries have historically opposed that India, what it is going to do, first of all, it will store the food grains and then it will try to sell these food grains into the international market, and now India is asking the same kind of a thing. Now guys, this particular thing might be used against the India. Some another countries will use this particular thing and they will say that okay, we always were saying this particular thing that India will sell this particular food grains and now India is asking such kind of a thing. So this is guys the entire issue that is going in WTO. So that is all about this particular article, and now let's move to the next article. Representation all the way up. Now this article is again taken from the editorial section. Okay, this article we are going to use with respect to the GS paper number 2, that is the representation of communities through constitutional reforms. representation of communities through constitutional reforms. Now, what this article is talking about, first of all, briefly I'll tell you. So, this article talks about the recent election of the president, Miss Draupadi Murmu, who has been elected as the president of India. So, this article is saying that that particular thing would not have been possible if India would not have made the constitutional reforms in the past, which have actually provided the level playing field to all the marginalized communities. So basically the article provides that Miss Draupadi Murmu was born in the Odisha. She belonged to the Santhal tribe, which is the largest ST community in India. Okay, she was earlier the MLA in Odisha. Then she became the governor of the Jharkhand. Okay, now all these particular things she did even when she belonged to a tribal community which is not very much politically active. How this particular thing became possible? Because of the constitutional reforms that had happened in the past. So the article mentions a silent revolution that was taken in India. Now, what silent revolution was instrumental in this particular thing? Basically, it is talking about the passing of the 73rd and the 74th Constitutional Amendment Act. So 73rd and 74th Constitutional Amendment Act, they created, for example, the 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act, it created the Panchayati Raj institutions. And in the Panchayati Raj institutions, the seats have been reserved for the many communities which had actually provided, which had provided an opportunity to participate in politics to the grassroots people, to the people coming from marginalized communities, etc. So basically, this 73rd and 74th Constitutional Amendment Act, it had created the democratically elected panchayats and municipalities, and these are being used by the marginalized communities to come in the politics. Now guys, it has been provided that this particular development where we have recognized the Panchayati Raj institution, it is the realization of long held vision of Mahatma Gandhi. Now Gandhiji wanted to create the village republics. He wanted that the panchayats, village republics, needed to be the self-governing kind of entities. Okay, this was something provided. Now see, understand this particular thing, that many of the members in the Constituent Assembly, including the Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, they are not very much optimistic that what role the villages find the panchayats can play. For example, Dr. Ambedkar said that what is the villages but a sink of localism, a den of ignorance, narrow-mindedness and communalism. So according to B.R. Ambedkar, villages are the ones where the narrow-mindedness, communalism, it prevails, and there giving them the political right might not be very much sound. But again, we have institutionalized the Panchayati Raj institutions, and many people from the grassroots now they are participating in the politics. Now guys, the idea says this particular thing, that see, when we institutionalize the Panchayati Raj institution, it is not fulfilling the Gandhiji's romantic idea of Gram Swaraj. We did not only fulfilled in a romantic way the idea of Gram Swaraj, but actually what we have done, we have basically formalized the traditional Panchayati Raj institutions in more of the institutions of self-governance. So we have actually diverted these traditional institutions into the institutions of the self-governance, local governance. Even the reservation has been given to the scheduled caste, reservation has been given to scheduled tribes on the basis of their percentage population. Even the reservation has been given to the women. 1/3 seats have been reserved for the women. So basically the Dalit, the Adivasis, the women who were marginalized, now they are being given the opportunities. Moreover, even the 20 states have increased the women reservation into the panchayat from 33% to 50%. And guys, if I tell you today, out of 31,87,000 elected representatives that are there in panchayat, nearly 14.5 lakh are the women. So in this particular capacity, we can see that more than 45% women are there into the Panchayati Raj institutions. So basically the women have been provided representation, scheduled caste, scheduled tribes have been provided reservation, and using these particular avenues, the people have reached to the higher echelons. Fine, even the president had become the present president who is assuming the highest office. She also was able to do that particular thing because of these constitutional reforms. Now guys, the article provides this particular thing, that see, over the years the social base of politics has been expanded because the reservation are being given to the scheduled caste, scheduled tribes, OBCs, women. But many times the judiciary has been skeptical about this particular thing. Judiciary has not been very much positive about this particular thing, and because of this thing, Supreme Court at multiple times have also stayed the effort to implement the OBC reservation in the local governance. Okay, Okay, this particular thing has been stated because the Supreme Court says that the empirical findings doesn't support that certain communities are actually backward. So Supreme Court has tried to reverse that particular thing, but guys, the article says that the Supreme Court also needs to understand this particular thing, that how the expansion of social base at the end of the day has provided the social justice. Fine, this is something which is provided in this entire article. So guys, I hope that you have understood it, and now we'll be moving to the next article. Okay, meanwhile there's a question, sir, yesterday's news. Okay, so Aparna, please see the Saturday newspaper. Okay, so Sundays, okay, it is specifically a day for the revision, for the consolidation of the news articles. Okay, now moving on. Bringing Eurasia closer. Now guys, this particular article will be important with respect to the GS paper number 2. GS paper number 2. India's international relation, India's participation in multilateral forums, multilateral initiatives. Now what this particular article is guys talking about, it talks about the international north-south transport corridor. International north-south transport corridor. Okay. Now guys, first of all, let's understand this particular thing from the very basic. So basically, the international north-south transport corridor, it is a set of infrastructure projects. It will have railways, it will have roadways, it will have port infrastructure, and it will provide the connectivity between the Russia and the India. In between, the countries such as the Iran will be participating, Central Asian countries will also be participating. Now when we talk about the INSTC, just a minute. When we talk about the INSTC, that is the International North-South Transport Corridor. Okay, so it will start from St. Petersburg in the Russia. International North-South Corridor, it will start from St. Petersburg in the Russia. Then via the highways, via the roads, the cargo will be reaching to the Astrakhan. Okay, this is a port. Now from the Astrakhan, it will cross the Caspian Sea. It will cross the Caspian Sea and will reach the Bandar Anzali. Now Bandar Anzali is a port in Iran. So from Bandar Anzali throughout the Iran, by the railways and by the roadways, this particular cargo will reach to the Bandar Abbas. Now Bandar Abbas is also a port city in the Iran, and from Bandar Abbas the cargo will be reaching to the Nhava Sheva, that is in the Mumbai, Jawaharlal Nehru Port Terminal, Mumbai. Now guys, this INCTC, International North-South Transport Corridor, the agreement was signed in 2000, and now just last week 2022, the first consignment from Russia has reached to the Mumbai using this INSTC, International North-South Transport Corridor. What it means? It means that formally after 22 years INSTC had started. Okay, now guys, basically the article says this thing, that fine, over the past few months India has been repeatedly criticized for one particular thing. It has been said that India is not taking any stand against the Russia. It is not speaking against the Russia into this Russia-Ukraine crisis, and everybody was justifying that why India is not speaking. People were saying that India is not condemning Russia because India has a military dependence on Russia. Some people said that India wanted the supplies of oil and gas from Russia, therefore it is not criticizing Russia. Some people said that because of the India's non-alignment, India is not criticizing Russia. But guys, now we have found the real answer that why India did not criticize the Russia. Because guys, over the past 20 years, India has invested heavily in the international north-south transport corridor and had tried to increase the connectivity with the Russia and Iran. And if today India would have criticized the Russia, then the relation between the Russia and India would have been declined, and this entire INSTC project would have fallen out. Now guys, understand that when we talk about the INSTC, the original agreement on INST, it was a trilateral agreement that was signed between three countries, that is the India, Iran and Russia, at the Euro-Asian Conference on Transport in 2000. This particular agreement was signed. Okay, since then many other countries have also joined it. Which other countries have joined it? It has been joined by Kazakhstan, Belarus, Oman, Tajikistan, Azerbaijan, Armenia, Syria. They have signed instrument of accession and had become the member of the INSTC. Now, it has been said that once INSTC is fully implemented, as it has happened now, it will reduce the freight cost by 30%, it will reduce the journey time by 40%, it will help in integration of India with the Central Asia, it will also help in integration of India directly with the Russia. As of now, we don't have direct trade route with Russia, but this particular problem will be solved after the coming of the international north-south transport corridor. Moreover, guys, it has been said that this alternative route will also be important because we have seen that the Suez route, okay, so basically guys, the route from the Suez Canal here, the route from this Suez Canal, it was basically suspended last year. Why? Because you might have read into the news also that there was a container ever given container, it got struck into the Suez Canal, and because of that the international transit moving towards the Europe got suspended. So therefore the alternative line will be helping here. Now guys, it has been said that see, India's investment in INCT, it is exemplified because India is also investing into the Iran's Chabahar port. So guys, see, we have the Bandar Abbas port, and then the Chabahar port is also here between near the Bandar Abbas. So we are also investing into the Chabahar port. So by this particular thing, our investment in Iran has increased a lot. Moreover, guys, basically around the Chabahar port, the special economic zone is being developed. In this special economic zone, Indian entities, Indian enterprises, they will be starting up their business. Fine, for example, the NALCO has provided that within the special economic zone in Iran, the NALCO will establish an aluminium smelting facility. So guys, the Iran and the Russia had become a very important partner for India because a lot of investment that has been done in Iran because of the connectivity that we want to reach to the Russia. Moreover, guys, in reaching to the Central Asia. Listen this particular thing, guys. Just please focus on this particular map. Now as you see this particular map, here we can see that there is Bandar Abbas, here there is a Chabahar port. Now guys, we have developed also the Chabahar port, and from the Chabahar port, fine, we have actually developed a railway line till the Afghanistan, and within the Afghanistan we have developed a road network, that is the Zaranj-Dilaram road. Fine, Zaranj-Dilaram road, and by using the Zaranj-Dilaram road, fine, throughout the Afghanistan we will reach the Central Asia. So basically to reach the Central Asia, Iran is a very important player, and guys, therefore today India needs Iran, and in this INSTC, as Iran is included, further the relation between the India and Iran will be enhanced. Moreover, guys, with the coming of INSTC, India can now bypass the Pakistan for accessing the Afghanistan. We now don't need the Pakistan. Secondly, the INSTC can shape the north-south transport corridor. See, China is taking the Belt and Road Initiative, which is an east-west project. So China is taking the Belt and Road Initiative. Now as a counter to Belt and Road, we have come out with the INSTC. Moreover, guys, at the same time, India is also the meaningful member in the Quadrilateral Security Dialogue. We are also member. So guys, what had happened? India has changed its foreign policy from non-alignment to multi-alignment. At the same time, we are juggling our relation with the Russia, and at the same time with the USA also. So this is, guys, a very good article. Fine, a very good article. Please do note down every point that I had discussed here directly in your notes. Now moving to the next article. Representation among the lower judiciary. So guys, this particular infographic, it is talking about that how the representation of the scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, OBCs, etc., women has been very much low. So guys, here it has been provided that the data has been published recently by the Lok Sabha, and according to this data, if we talk about the representation of the SCs, STs, OBCs and women in the lower level judiciary, it is very much less. So here, if we take the data at the entire India level, you can see that the Supreme Court judges into the lower judiciary, it is just 13%. ST judges, they are just 5%. OBC judges are just 24%. Women judges are just 35%. This is very less representation that has been given. Guys, further it has been provided that out of 10 states and union territories such as the Haryana, Odisha, there are the 0 scheduled tribe judges. Fine. Now guys, if you talk about the Odisha has the largest number of the scheduled tribe people, but not even a single judge from the scheduled tribe people. It is problematic. Then out of 12 states, fine, there are the 12 states actually which have the 0 Supreme Court, 0 scheduled caste judges. 0 scheduled caste judges, 12 states have 0 scheduled caste judges, 10 states have 0 scheduled tribe judges, and at the same time there are 10 states and union territories where there are the 0 OBC judges. 0 OBC judges. What it shows? It shows that the representation of the marginalized sections have been very much less. Then guys, the state-wise data is provided. Now this is not very much important, okay, because you will not be able to remember. Just see the India-wise data. Now moving to the next article. Assam UP police sees a demographic shift. Now guys, see this particular article. You don't need to go too much into the deep. This particular article is simply saying that in the border towns of the Assam and Uttar Pradesh, the population growth has been higher than the population growth in the entire country. Now guys, here it has been said that, for example, when we talk about the border areas of the Assam and UP, the decadal population growth, it is 31.45%. So one decade, the population growth is 31.45% in the Assam and Uttar Pradesh. Now this is within the 10 kilometer of the Bangladesh border. This is the population growth. Now if you compare it with the national population growth and the state population growth, it is much higher than that. For example, national population growth is just 12.5%. So comparing 12.5% with 31.45%, very high population growth is there. Compared to the state also, the state population growth is 13.54. Again 13.54, compared it with 31%. Fine, very much high population growth has been there, and population growth has been there in both the communities, in Hindus as well as Muslim. The population growth for Hindus is 32.9% and Muslims it is 29.6%. So it has been said that actually the population growth has increased. Large number of people are now living into the border areas, and because of that, recently the Home Ministry has also increased the power of BSF also. So BSF has been given a power that within 50 kilometers they can arrest, search and seize. Okay, now guys, earlier basically when we talk about the limit that were there, so earlier for the Gujarat, the BSF was given the 80 kilometer limit, but for the Rajasthan, Punjab, West Bengal, Assam, they only have the limit that they can go till 15 kilometer. Now they can go to 50 kilometer. So the limit from 15 kilometer has been expanded to 50 kilometer. Why it has been expanded? Because now there is huge population growth into the border districts, and to manage these people, to make sure that no such anti-national activity is happening, we need to give more mandate to the BSF. So this is something. However, you don't need to go too much into the detail in this particular article. Just this overview that I had explained, you need to see that. So that is all guys about the today's newspaper analysis, and with this we come to an end to the today's newspaper. Guys, I hope that you have understood it, and if you have liked the video, please do hit the like button, please do comment, and please do subscribe to our channel. Now we'll be meeting tomorrow. Till then, please take care of yourselves. Thank you so much.